I'm Andy Watson with And DVD Media, and we are here to get to know the founder of Authenticity Consulting, Carter McNamara.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning, Carter.
Good morning.
Can you tell us a bit about your background?
Well, yes, I was born in North Dakota. I'm going way back. North Dakota is in the United States, and I say that because we have clients around the world who would say, well, where is North Dakota? My background would be, I want to say I'm a product of the 70s. If you were in the United States, then you know what 70s is. You know we were in rap sessions to find ourselves and each other, which is seriously probably a basis for a lot of the reason that I'm so interested in groups.
And you wanted to try to solve some of the societal problems in the world and that sort of thing. And your interest in ethics actually helped with that. You were a fan of ethics from a very young age, and you went to school at St. Thomas, I think?
I did. My graduate work was at St. Thomas. I later went on for a PhD in action learning, in fact. Good point. But yeah, I've always been a student of what is authenticity? What does authentic even really mean? Which, by the way, is one of the key outcomes from action learning that's never written about. It's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it. So, yes.
And the reason that you named your company Authenticity Consulting, can you explain that? What is it about authenticity that just really rang true for you?
Oh, good question, because I have a friend who recently passed away. He wrote a book called Authentic Leadership, and he always said that authenticity self-corrects. What he means by that is if you can get people to be honest in the moment, and you might be angry, you might be sleepy, you might be sad, but if you're saying that, then you're being authentic. And I believe that. If you are authentic in the moment, you can develop in all kinds of ways. But if you're going to go through a training for a day and you really don't want to be there, and then you complain at the coffee machine later, it's a waste of your time and the trainer. So I named our company that. And 15 years later, authenticity is the buzzword. It means that your checkbook is balanced and your tires are rotated and you're always happy. For us, it means being honest in the moment and working from that.
So you were a bit ahead of your time, cutting edge, but when you brought that to your manager at the time, she wasn't that excited about it because the concept just wasn't an accepted thing. Getting to the point that sometimes when something's new, it's a little scary for people and they don't want to get involved in it. And that's something that your company challenges all the time.
It does. You know, your question takes me back because when I first tried action learning, it was probably 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd read a book by Reginald Revens, the man who started action learning. And the book was New Techniques in Management. And you needed lots of coffee to get through his book because he was a very dense writer. But he explained this process where people can get in groups, and it's just, I want to say normal people. They're not PhDs, but they're engaged in doing something. And they're engaged in learning from it. And they're engaged in drawing out the wisdom from each other, which is largely based on asking questions. So I read that book, and I had Post-it notes all over it. And I promptly went and tried to start 2 groups. You can maybe see me blushing now because it's not something I put in my resume. But that was 30 years ago.
Uh-huh. And Authenticity Consulting has grown since then.
Oh, we've expanded dramatically. We do work in all the continents except the poles.
Mm-hmm.
I want to mention 2 years ago we hired about 50 subcontractors just to accommodate the workload. And at the time I was pouring through resumes thinking, oh my gosh, this is really a task here. Heck, I've learned so much from those 50 because we do action learning amongst each other. So we work for all types of organizations doing all types of outcomes. My favorite in action learning is really customizing the programs. And my background is organization development. So I can go into a company, we can look at the boards, leadership, management, programs, planning, business or strategic planning. We know the marketing, the finance. We can take the parts apart and put them back together so the company's better off for it. And we can put in action learning to make it all happen.
Also, when some of these larger companies come to you, it isn't just because they're in a crisis or there's a problem to solve. They come to you for other reasons too. Can you give me an example of those?
That's kind of an itch that scratches for me. So many people talk about action learning as being needed in a crisis, and that's not the case. When the books talk about problems and problem solving, you know, a lot of our clients come and they're doing great. They just want to be doing even greater. Many times they've got a massive influx of money. They have a new product line they're excited about. It can be used in any application where you need people to be authentic, but to do something and not just talk about it, to learn from each other and draw out the wisdom in the workplace. So you can use it for crises, or you can use it for opportunities.
And also, too, not just action learning. Authenticity consulting will assist corporations or even the smaller organizations in a variety of ways, not just action learning. What other services do you provide?
Well, in the organization development work, it's very often we'll go into a company and we'll help them get clear on if they think they have a problem, are they looking at the symptoms or are they looking at the real issues? And our expertise is we can hone right down towards, I call it the leverage point, where with a little bit of effort, you can make a great big difference. And our skill is that. It can say, let's put a little bit of effort here. And it's not just going in and making recommendations. We'll plug in an action learning group, and the employees in the workplace are the ones who are saying, you know, here's what we need to do. And then they go do it, but they learn at the same time.
So the key behind that is to motivate them to take action, not just talk about what great solutions are, but to say, you have to put something behind this. You have to put in the time.
Yes. And they're the ones who, after a meeting or two, are saying, you have to do something. You have to put something behind this. You have to put in the time. And our gift is, we can help them with the right questions, but then you stand back. This is where we get our goosebumps. You stand back and you can be very indirect, and it's a gift to just watch them take part. Their learning comes from doing something and learning at the same time.
Carter, when the internet was just getting started, you had an amazing idea. Tell us more about the Free Management Library.
Oh, certainly. This is going back to probably 1993 and 94. I was at the University of Minnesota then, and we were a rather high-tech department. Some of the people in the department were working on this thing called the World Wide Web. And in those days, people thought it was something you did with ducks in water. But we learned that you could put something up on this thing called the web, and people around the world could find it. So later on in 94 and 95, I still had been in a lot of management courses, and people would ask me, for example, can I get a copy of a job description? And I started to think, well, if I put it up on this thing called the web and you go type in this thing called a URL, see what happens. And it took off like a bonfire. And I've always had these ideals of the more you give stuff away, the more it comes back to you. And that's proven to be true with this library, because we've gotten up to 1 million visitors per month. And I'm not talking hits, but visitors. In fact, we have probably 200 countries a day that use this. And I have to say, some of the materials up there came from action learning groups. Sally would say to Mary, you know, I'm struggling to find a good mentor. The next meeting, there'd be guidelines on how to do mentorship. So I'd put it up in this library, and the world could use it. So we're very proud of it. And we continue to give things away, and the web makes it available to anybody who can use a keyboard.
And there's just endless categories, and you do keep it updated all the time.
We do.
In addition to the Free Management Library, you've also been working on a multi-part series that you plan to put on YouTube, and it's all about action learning. And once again, you're not charging anything for that
No.
expertise. Can you tell us how that came about?
Oh, well, we've been getting questions from clients, and they're typically the same questions. So I've always thought, if I could put something up on the web again and tell them a website, they could go hear that between coffee breaks. They're very, very busy. To take time to sit and read a 300-page book is almost unmanageable. So I started doing that, just little places here and there, and they would send back an email about how wonderful it was. So I decided I'd like to do a series that is free, and for a variety of reasons. And one of them, frankly, is to honor the man who invented all this, Reginald Revens. He wanted it to be available to everybody. And I have to say, I'm a bit concerned about us practitioners. We've shrouded action learning in a bit of a mystique. It's maybe a little more theory than they need. And I'm more of a practitioner. I have a PhD, and the action learning's my focus, but it's on practicalities. So I wanted to honor him by making it available to people. Also, there's a field called coaching, which has grown exponentially. And coaching and action learning have a lot to benefit from each other. So throughout the series, I try to meld the two together in a way that they can both benefit. And I've learned if you put this stuff out free, it comes back to you tenfold, and it doesn't have to come back as $signs. It comes back in phone calls saying you just saved us $10,000.
Also, too, I know that you've written many books, and there are some people who learn more by visual senses, and I really think that this series is going to help the people who learn that way to understand better concepts of
Excellent point.
action learning.
Excellent point, especially what we affectionately call Gen X, Gen Y.
If it isn't on TV, then it isn't real.
Well, my gray hair's showing, so I'm not that. But they do. They want to hear short snippets, and people with disabilities are better to be listening. And action learning can be done. You don't have to be a college athlete to do this stuff. So you make a very good point, Andy.
Thank you. Obviously, you do not run Authenticity Consulting single-handedly.
Oh, no.
So please tell us about your business partner and your wife of 31 years, Terry.
Yes. Well, the gift that Terry brings is, when I try to describe it, she's got a gift of working from 5 feet or 50,000 feet and everywhere in between. And I'm kind of a ready, fire, aim person. I believe that you make the road by walking, and that's why I love action learning so much. But Terry's got a common sense. She can stand back and say, we should probably think about this. Let's do it in the following order. Let's bring in the following people. Mm-hmm. And the other gift is she can add a touch of artistry to it. And there's a practical side. If you're working with many, many groups, you've got another voice that can come in. And I think we're building on a 31-year relationship that is more than business. We have a comfort with each other, and I think it's contagious.
What do you see as the future for Authenticity Consulting?
Oh, I've thought about that many times on the dock when I'm thinking about where am I going to be here when all of this, when I've got enough, my grandchildren are sitting next to me. What I would like seriously with authenticity is if people are talking, one, about action learning in a way that's accessible, it's a tool. It's something that they feel good about, that they can access. The other is, I hope the library continues to be just I want to use the word utility. Mm-hmm. They take it for granted. If they need something, they go get it, and it's free. I hope people can see that the value, they might have created something in 5 minutes that'll save 5 hours for somebody else. The bottom line, though, for the company is I hope it continues to exist, not to grow for the sake of growth, but it focuses on quality, and it focuses on helping people be real and honest in the moment. Because if you've got that, you've got everything.